Part 2. The Distorted 144,000. The 144,000 are not new souls. They are ancient light anchors seated across timelines and galaxies, not to be known, but to remember themselves in silence and awaken the grid from within. Many are survivors of Lemuria, the carriers of the heart grid, engineers of Atlantis, the bearers of lost technology, descendants of the Sirens, Pleiadians, Lyrans, and Orion healers, souls who watched previous civilizations collapse and chose to return for this final cycle. They are not better than anybody else. They are simply older in service and often carry the spiritual bruises of countless lifetimes. So, you won't spot them by their Instagram posts. You won't find them on stages shouting about how awakened they are. You'll feel them when they speak, when they touch your life, when their presence calms the room. Most share these energetic traits. They're wounded, but still soft. They've been broken open again and again, but their hearts remain unarmored. Their compassion didn't die with the betrayal. They're mostly alone, but they're never lonely. They often walk solo paths, not because they're better, but because their mission is unique. Yet they never truly feel disconnected from Source. Remembering things they never studied. Esoteric wisdom flows through them like memory. They don't just read sacred texts, they recognize them. They're at odds with the world system. Jobs, roles, schools, status symbols rarely fit. They've always felt like they're living in a world that runs on the wrong fuel. Magnetic to chaos and transformation. Their presence often triggers others, not because they're trying to, but because they carry light frequencies that dissolve illusion. Some call it mirror energy, others call it disruption. Either way, they bring truth. They are healers without titles. Whether or not they work in healing professions, they tend to restore, uplift, or rebalance the energy of those around them through voice, presence, touch, or gaze. They're dreamers and grid workers. They often dream of other planets, receive prophetic visions, or feel pulled to certain locations on Earth. Many are involved in energetic grid repair, consciously or not. So you ask, why are they here now? And they're everywhere and nowhere. A single mother raising a soul, coded child in silence. A man working night shifts, reciting prayers no one hears. A woman healing ancestral lines in therapy and shadow work. A teacher who smiles at a child and changes the course of their life. A quiet mystic who speaks to the stars and remembers the fall of Eden. Most of them don't know they're one of the 144,000 because they don't need to know. They're too busy doing the work to chase the title. Some are still asleep right now. Some are in dark nights of the soul right now. Some reawakening after years of forgetfulness. And some have already awakened. But when their codes activate, the Earth's grid shifts. Here's what few understand. Many of these souls are not just individual fragments. They are hubs of vast oversoul networks, meaning one embodied 144,000 soul might be anchoring light for hundreds or thousands of connected soul shards across timelines, bloodlines, and galaxies. They serve as light nodes holding together the lattice of soul remembrance. This is why their lives are often heavy, why their families are broken, why their bodies ache, why they carry the wounds of hundreds of years. Because they're transmuting more than just their own karma. They are purging entire soul clusters through their body. And this is also why many of them experience chronic fatigue, strange illnesses, sudden awakening followed by collapse, emotional intensity that feels bigger than just me. Because it is. They're doing cosmic work inside a human nervous system. Why you may not feel like one of them. Because the 144,000 rarely feel powerful. They feel tired, tested, heavy, like they're not doing enough, while doing more than most humans ever will in this lifetime. They don't announce themselves. They don't demand titles. They ask questions like, why did I come back here? Why is it so hard to be here? Why do I feel everyone's pain? Why can't I walk away even when no one sees me? And the answer to all of those questions is the same. Because you didn't come here for validation. You came here to hold the light until it can hold itself. You're not here to save the world. You're here to be the frequency that reminds it how to save itself. The real 144,000 don't need to prove who they are. They just quietly carry the flame. Through love, through grief, through collapse, and resurrection. And if this section brought you to tears, goosebumps, or deep remembering, that's the frequency. That is how you know. So, how does somebody know that they carry this frequency without ego? Well, let me be honest. This is the section most people secretly skip to. Whether they admit it or not, deep down many souls want to know, am I one of them? Do I carry this frequency? Is there a sign, a confirmation, something that proves I came here for this? And here's the truth. If you're asking the question from curiosity and devotion, you're already closer than you think. But if you're asking from superiority, status, or spiritual ambition, the code will remain dormant. Because this path cannot be forced. It must be remembered. And it is remembered not by believing, but by becoming. So, the biggest trap of the 144,000 mythology is that it tempts the ego to seek identity in the mission rather than to surrender identity to the mission. So let this be said very clearly. There is no certificate that says you are part of the 144,000. There is no one who can validate you but your own soul. There is no formula to prove it. Only the embodied resonance that lives beneath your skin. This is a frequency, not a resume. So instead of asking, am I one of them? Ask, what within me is already living like this, even without a title? That's your compass. That's your sign. These signs are not personality traits. They are vibrational patterns, soul imprints that show up in your energy field of those embodied with the 144 frequency. 1. You feel you came here for something more, but can't explain what it is. 2. You've survived repeated soul initiations and they almost broke you. 3. You often feel like an emotional or energetic filter for the collective. 4. You resist labels, systems, and false hierarchy even in spiritual spaces. 5. You experience quantum memory, dreams, visions, feelings from other realms or past civilizations. 6. You are constantly breaking lineage curses. 7. You have a powerful effect on others' energy, even in silence. 8. You've always felt between worlds. 9. You don't want followers, you want freedom for yourself and others. 10. Your life is strangely timed with planetary shifts and collective awakenings. 11. You've met others who wake something up inside you. 12. You feel the pain of the world in your body. 13. You often doubt yourself, not because you're weak, but because your task is massive. 14. You are here to become, not to be seen. 15. You've always known, in your quietest moments, that you were seated here to help this world remember. If even 3 or 4 of these moved you to tears, gave you chills, or made you exhale in recognition, the frequency is already within you. If you're still unsure, that's totally okay. The ones who carry this code are rarely certain about it, because this mission strips you bare before it builds you back up. You are not gifted confirmation before the initiation. You are given resonance along the way. You don't get to skip the questions. You don't get to bypass the doubt. You must walk into the fire and allow remembrance to rise from within. If it were easy to know, it would be easy to fake, and this frequency cannot be faked. You will know you carry it when you start living more for truth than validation. You surrender to mission without knowing where it's going. You serve when no one claps. You choose integrity when it costs you something. You break down and rebuild and still choose love after the rubble settles. That's the activation. That's the proof. Not your followers, not your knowledge, not your ascension posts. Just your quiet embodiment of the light you came here to anchor. If you're listening to this and it doesn't stir your ego, but your soul, if you feel called, not inflated, if this brings you peace, not pride, then don't chase the title, just become the frequency. You are not here to prove it, you are here to live it. Now we're really going to go deep. Of all the spiritual myths and misunderstood concepts out there, few rival the confusion, obsession, and sacred distortion that surrounds the words twin flame. It's become a hashtag of fantasy, a trigger word, and in many cases, a trap. But what most don't realize is that the concept of the twin flame is directly connected to the frequency of the 144,000. Not all twin flames are part of the 144,000. But many of the 144,000 carry soul codes that awaken and complete through union-based missions. And that often means encountering a twin, a mirror, or even a triadic soul configuration. This is not about romance. This is not about chasing. This is about divine grid repair through human embodiment of unified polarity. Before Earth descended into density and distortion, the soul blueprint was encoded with a divine principle: wholeness through polarity. That means the masculine and feminine aspects of creation, not gender, but frequency, were meant to reflect, activate, and integrate through sacred union. When the soul descended into matter, it often split its energy into complementary incarnations, each carrying part of the full light code. These were not always lovers, not always from the same bloodline or culture, but always designed to awaken and catalyze each other. This is the twin flame counterpart, not as a relationship goal, but as an activation portal. And in many cases, the 144,000 are seeded with these contracts because their union is not about them. It's about the mission. So if you're carrying this frequency, your twin flame journey won't feel like a movie. It will feel like an initiation, because that's exactly what it is. You may experience a sudden soul recognition that flips your life upside down, a magnetic pull you can't explain or escape, mirroring of your deepest wounds, shadows, and abandonment patterns, a push-pull dynamic, ghosting, retreating, returning, profound expansion followed by collapse, a strange knowing that this person changed everything and yet I can't hold them. And the hardest part, most twin flame pairs among the 144,000 do not stay together immediately, because the energy they carry is way too powerful to anchor until each has completed inner union. So separation isn't failure, it's refinement. A sacred pause to clear distortion before the grid can hold them both. What happens when union does occur? Some may ask. When the twin flame frequency stabilizes, or when the triadic field begins to awaken, something extraordinary happens. The body becomes a living grid. Their shared light field anchors sacred masculine and feminine codes into Earth's electromagnetic field. Their aura becomes a portal for collective healing, memory activation, and timeline repair. This is what the original twin flame mission was always about. Not the relationship, the remembrance, the resurrection of unity consciousness, not in thought, but in form. The triadic connection, which is beyond the twin flame. This is very, very rare, and some souls here are walking this path. Some of the 144,000 don't just carry a two-part soul contract. They carry a triadic field, a sacred triangle of souls, each holding part of the full code. This isn't a love triangle, but resembles one. This is an ascension architecture. Triadic missions involve one soul acting as the catalyst. This is often known as the runner or the disruptor. One as the anchor, which is the one holding the light, who is often alone the majority of the time. One as the bridge or rebuilder, which brings integration, often after the collapse. These triadic dynamics are ancient. They're traced back to the Holy Trinity, the Egyptian triads, Isis, Osiris, and Horus, and the Kabbalistic triads on the Tree of Life. If you're part of a triadic soul contract, you may feel pulled between two soul-level connections, caught in an impossible love or loyalty choice, triggered to evolve rapidly after encountering both. Aware that this dynamic is bigger than relationship, it's about grid alignment. These souls came to repair the threefold split in the human energy system, to heal distortion between love, truth, and will. They have one of the hardest ascension paths there is. The union timeline is never just about when you'll be together. It's about whether the frequency field is ready to anchor the light you both carry. So if you're separated from the twin or part of a triadic field, focus on your personal integration first. Let go of the chasing the connection and instead become the frequency of union within. Trust that when the inner grid of Earth is stable enough to hold you, the outer mirror will realign. If you are together, know that your presence is changing the field, even if you're not doing anything but living. You are the mission, your field is the transmission. You came here not just to love, but to become the divine reflection of love itself, not to chase a partner, but to embody the magnetic force of healed polarity, not to merge with another, but to become so whole that your union becomes inevitable, because it's written in the grid. If you're walking the twin flame path as part of the 144,000, please know this. You're not crazy, you're encoded, and your love is a portal for new earth. By now, you've likely realized something profound. The 144,000 aren't here to float above the chaos. They're here to walk directly into it and remember who they are while inside the collapse. This is the part no one glamorizes. This is the truth most spiritual marketing skips. But this is the real mission, and it's why the 144,000 frequency was seeded in the first place. You were born into the collapse on purpose. You didn't incarnate into a peaceful time. You weren't born into the utopia. You were born into the grid distortion, financial collapse, spiritual amnesia, ancestral trauma, broken systems, and karmic overload. And the world told you, you're too sensitive. You're too much. You need to get in line. You're not realistic. But your soul whispered otherwise, because you knew, even then, you weren't born to be comfortable. You were born to be coded. For the 144,000 frequency carriers, collapse is not punishment, it's activation. Everything you've lost, everyone who's betrayed you, every dark night of the soul you've endured, has served one purpose: to strip away what was never you, so your true codes could come online. Your pain has been the forge, your body the altar, your grief the sacrifice through which light returns. The 144,000 don't just speak light, they bleed it. They walk through shadow after shadow until they become the light that cannot be extinguished. Your nervous system is a grid anchor. Here's the esoteric truth rarely spoken. When you stabilize your nervous system after trauma, when you heal ancestral fear patterns from your body, when you anchor peace in your own energy field, you are literally recalibrating Earth's energetic architecture. This is not a metaphor. You are the biological interface between dimensions. And when you learn to hold divine frequencies through the very system that once carried trauma, you become a living node in the resurrection grid. You stop reacting, you start transmitting. And every room you enter, every soul you touch, becomes an opportunity for activation. The real mission is not flashy. It kind of looks like crying on the bathroom floor, transmuting pain that isn't yours, choosing kindness when you want revenge, speaking truth in a room full of masks, walking away from illusions that once felt like safety, forgiving timelines that never gave you closure, anchoring love after being shown every reason not to. And all the while, your soul keeps saying, hold the light just one more time. Hold that light just one more time. This is what the 144,000 do. Not because they're superhuman, but because they've remembered their divine capacity to keep going even when it makes no sense. You're not here to escape the world. You're here to resurrect it. This is not about transcendence. It's about transformation. The 144,000 are not here to ascend and disappear. They are here to stay, to walk Earth as light in form, to recode the grid through daily embodiment of divine frequency, not in temples, but in everyday grocery stores, courtrooms, within families and fractured communities. They are the ones rebuilding Eden from within the ruins. Your mission is not to be perfect. Your mission is not to be known. Your mission is to remember who you are even while everything is falling apart around you. Because in doing so, you create a frequency field that others can anchor to. You rewrite the blueprint from trauma to truth. You become the resurrection, not in theory, but in presence. And maybe that's why it's so hard, because the collapse is not in your way, it is the way. And the ones who remember that are the ones who rebuild the world. If you made it here, if you've listened to all of this, not with your mind, but with your being, then you already know. You were never meant to fit in. You were never meant to be understood by the world you came to transform. You were meant to awaken inside the distortion and bring light where there had only been memory of it. You are the blueprint, not because of your name, not because you claimed a label, not because of how much you know, but because of how much you've endured, because you kept going, because you loved when it was hard, because you held the line when it would have been easier to collapse. The 144,000 are not warriors in shining armor. They are soul-forged beings of light who have walked through hell and chose not to become it. They are gentle. They are fierce. They are still healing, just like the rest of the world. But they remember. If something inside you stirred, if this episode felt less like information and more like confirmation, if your heart whispered, "This is me," even though your mind still isn't sure, then don't chase it. Just breathe into it. The memory is already alive inside your cells. You don't need permission. You don't need proof. You don't need to be part of a club. You came here encoded, and your only job now is to live in resonance with that encoding, moment by moment. So, you are not here to argue your worth. You are not here to explain your path. You are here to become the medicine, the message, and the mirror. You are one of the ones who remembers before the world does. And your mission is not to convince others of the light, but to become such a clear vessel for it that they remember the light in themselves. Thank you for walking this path. Thank you for listening to your soul. Thank you for becoming what was once forgotten. And you're not just listening to this, you're remembering what you came here to embody. The myth is no longer needed. The truth is awake in you now.